I am excited to kick off today's event. 3 unique career stories and top advice for finding your dream job, sponsored by Sonepar. Now, Sonepar is an independent, family owned business with global market leadership in the B2B distribution of electrical, industrial, and safety products, services, and solutions. It is a proud member of the Sonepar Group and the world's largest electrical distributor. Now, for those who do not know, Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Millions of women visit Fairygodboss for career connections, jobs, community advice, hard to find intel about how companies treat women, and virtual events just like this one. So we are thrilled, absolutely ecstatic to be joined by 3 leaders from Sonepar: Nicole from Capital Electric, Blanca from OneSource, and Alexa from Codell. So, would you each take a minute to introduce yourselves, please? We would love to hear what's going on in your life personally, professionally, and what you do in your role today. Nicole, can we start with you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lasheen. And so happy to see all of these great folks who decided to join us today. I'm excited about the conversation. My name is Nicole Johnson. I am the Director of Marketing at Capital Electric, which is part of the Sonepar family of electrical distributors. Capital Electric operates out of Pennsylvania all the way down to Georgia. So we have over 70 locations and did about 1.5 billion in sales. So pretty large distribution company. Personally, well, actually, I've been working in marketing now for almost 20 years, which is crazy. So I love what I do. I love the fact that that career field can transform industries. I've been in banking, and I've been in the utility industry, and now I get to be a part of electrical distribution, which is amazing. I am a proud mother of 2. I have a 15-year-old and I have a 9-year-old, a recent 9-year-old who thinks he's 15, trying to keep up with his big sister. But proud working mom, making all the struggles and the challenges of juggling it all. So happy I get a chance to share some of that with the audience here today.
Absolutely. Nicole, thank you so much. Also, I have a 15-year-old, so I already know what
You
you're going.
feel my pain.
I already know what you're going through. Blanca, I would love for you to jump in. And I just love your background so much, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I am Blanca Segura. I am the lighting product manager for OneSource Distributors out of Los Angeles, California. I just started with OneSource in September of last year. So super excited of joining a Sonepar family, an OpCo obviously for Sonepar. And my role there is handling all the lighting in regards to stock, all the lighting manufacturers, working with the agents, and also working as a lighting specialist and a resource for the team, and any type of needs that they need. In regards to personally for me, I'm juggling a 18-month-old baby as a new mom. So that's on my personal end. But I've been in the career in the lighting industry for 12 years now. So super excited to keep on growing with OneSource.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great stuff, Blanca. And then last but certainly not least, Alexa, please introduce yourself and your role at Codell and where you're located.
Yeah, thank you, Lasheen. So I am the branch manager for the Ogden branch here at Codell. So that's Ogden, Utah. We're about a $30 million branch and mostly focused on industrial out of this location. So we are an Allen Bradley distributor, Rockwell. So we do a lot of automation and controls, but as well, on top of that, we are doing lighting. We are doing everything from gear, pipe, wire, all of the fittings. So it's really an all-encompassing electrical distributor here. On top of that, in my role, I'm managing the sales, the counter, the inside, our drivers, our warehouse, as well as just the maintenance on the building is on top of it. So it's it's a little bit of everything. So every day is totally unique, and everything comes up always with a fire, right? So there's always something to be put out. For me personally, I'm out here in Utah, so I'm enjoying the best ski season of our lifetime. So I don't know if anybody out there skis, but we've got some great snow that we've been really enjoying this year.
Incredible. Thanks so much, Alexa, for that intro as well. I find it so funny, like depending on where you are, the snow can be something that's very enjoyable, like with you. And then I'm in New York, so when it snows over here, we're like, oh God, no. So it's like it's just so different, but I love it. I love that you guys can take advantage of it. So thank you all. I am so excited about our discussion today, and I know our audience is as well. For those tuning in, I would like to remind everyone that we will be answering questions that come directly from you all. So please submit your questions on the chat on the right of your screen, and we'll do our best to respond to as many as we can throughout the call, and definitely towards the end of the call as well. So first off, I wanted to jump off with just asking the big question there, which is, what's the most memorable piece of career advice you've received? And Blanca, I would love it if you could kick us off.
I received this advice pretty in the beginning of my career. It says, always be yourself. Nobody will be you. Trust yourself that you will succeed regardless of the challenges that you come across. And you always come across challenges, right? So I always think about that.
I love that. I love that. Nicole, I'd love to know what was the most memorable piece of career advice you've received.
For me, it was something that I wish I had gotten at the beginning of my career, which is you do not have to meet 100% of a job requirement to go after it. And I later, as I started reading and trying to understand, like, well, why is that the case? And why do I feel that way? And I started looking at statistics, and it said a lot of women feel that way, that we must meet everything in order to be deemed worthy of. And men apparently don't always have that trait. So I started thinking about opportunities that I didn't go after because I didn't feel like I met 100% of the requirement, but I knew I could have done the job, even by selling maybe some of the like experiences. So later in life, I took that approach, and I think it served me well. But I think that advice of going after what you want, and I think it's kind of piggybacks on Blanca, what you just said, believing in yourself. And if you know you can do that job, utilizing, connections, relationships, networking, go after it. Don't be scared to go after what you want.
Absolutely. That is like the most important, advice that you can start off with is, to just have that confidence and to just go after it, regardless of any obstacles. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Alexa, same question. What's the most memorable piece of career advice that you've received?
Yeah, so I would think mine was also pretty early on in my career when I started in outside sales, which was 10 years ago now. And I was the only outside salesperson who was a female at the time. And boss pulled me into his office, and he said to me, you need to work with all the advantages that you have. Anticipate the hurdles, but work with your own advantages. So being a female walking into any room opened a lot more doors oftentimes, but then slam some right in your face, right? So if you knew what your advantages were going to be, which was oftentimes curiosity, so maybe an engineer or a purchasing manager or somebody was a little bit curious, who is this female who is trying to walk in my door, who wants to sell me something? I've not had a female come in from an electrical distributor before. Let's meet her. And then as soon as you walked in, it was, but does she know what she's talking about? So anticipating those hurdles, knowing, okay, I'm probably going to be drilled a little bit more when I walk in the door, so I need to know my shit. Excuse me. I do work with electricians all day. But if I don't walk in and know what I'm talking about, they're going to slam that door right in my face, but they will let me put the foot in the door in order to get in because they're a little bit curious. And so I had that advantage where it got me in. And as long as I was able to back that up, then I was rocking and rolling from there.
I love that perspective. It's almost like a double-edged sword in a way because it's the trait that gets you in, but it's also the trait that brings forth the hurdles. But as long as, like you said, you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and you can prove yourself, you knock it out the park. So that's fantastic. I love that. So kind of piggybacking off of our last question, I kind of want to pivot it just a little bit and ask now, what is your number one piece of advice for other women who are moving into or want to move into leadership? And how about Nicole kick us off?
Sure. I think one of the things that was really helpful for me was seeking and finding a mentor or a sponsor. And, the difference between a sponsor and a mentor obviously is someone who has maybe the power and ability to influence and impact you where you are. That's kind of your sponsor. But a mentor could be anybody. It could be someone that you look up to in your church, or it could be somebody that you used to work with and, just sort of keep in contact. I think having someone who is in a leadership role of some sort that you can go to for advice that has and it doesn't, and I put a note in my, as I was thinking about this, that it doesn't always have to be a woman either. I think I have found value out of getting mentorship from my male leader colleagues, as well as my female. I relate to my female colleagues on a different level, but my male colleagues have been able to give me insight into how they think, which has been really valuable to me as I've been sort of trying to navigate in these industries. And so I don't know if folks on the call know, but electrical distribution is mainly male, predominantly white male. And so when you're in these environments, you have to, in order to be effective and figure out your voice and how to get your voice across, is just as important to understand the folks that you're working with. So having a mentor that's a male, it's not a bad thing. But I do think that there's also a significant amount of value that I attained from getting and actively seeking folks that I just admire. And if it may have been just for coffee, once a month, just so I can bounce ideas off of them, get advice on, maybe positions I'm looking at, sometimes they knew people I should talk to, or even just, struggles, everyday struggles. And, how do I deal with this? How did you deal with this? It's just been very helpful in my career to have those relationships, and I've nurtured them throughout my entire career.
Amazing. And just while I still have you, Nicole, just curious what your thoughts on have you found that, or would you think that sponsoring or having a mentor is harder now that we're in a more remote kind of setting for someone?
Not so. It is more challenging sometimes to build those relationships, but you have to get creative. With applications like Teams and Yammer. We used to do virtual happy hours. I get my glass of wine and my sponsor would get her glass of wine, around 7:00, and we would sit and we, take a half hour just to decompress. So you just have to be creative sometimes, but you'd be surprised how many folks would be flattered and open to the idea and concept just by you reaching out and sending an email saying, hey, would it be okay if, we had a virtual call sometime? Just, I'd love to pick your brain on some things. I see how you've been able to be so successful in your role, but love to learn more from you. Which is, I've had now the pleasure of doing that where I sit today for others, and it's so fulfilling. So I see your point, Lashina, about that being challenging if you're fully remote. But there are lots of creative ways and opportunities to get around that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Blanca, same question. I'd love to know what would be your, number one piece of advice for other women who are moving into leadership.
I would say be curious. I'm very curious. I ask a lot of questions. I ask questions even though they tell me no. I say why. I want to know why. I want to know the reason. Don't be scared to ask those type of questions. I feel like it's needed to move on, to move forward into your position, how you could better improve in yourself. What can you do better, obviously, and just again, never be afraid of the challenge or a challenge.
Absolutely. Love it. So now I want to dig a little bit more into specifics here. So my question here is, how would you describe your leadership style? And what's the number one thing you hope your direct reports are getting out of working with you? Alexa, I'd love it if you could kick us off.
Well, so I'm incredibly lucky. I have a very seasoned, very successful team at my branch. A lot of them have been here for anywhere from 10 to 30 years. So they've got an incredible wealth of knowledge, a lot of experience. And for me, my leadership style is, I guess, what would fall under a democratic leadership style. So oftentimes when there's an issue, when there's a change, I like to pull from each of them and see what their opinions are, see what their experience is, and how they want to move forward with it. I think it gives them also the ability to get that input, their buy-in. When everybody's a part of it, then you feel a little more tied to what we're going to be doing moving forward. I hope that, with that, each of these guys, that they get a little bit out of me being an advocate for them. So we're in a branch. We're not at the headquarters. There's a lot of changes. We are a growing company that has a lot going on. And the best I can do for them is to be that advocate, be that support person, to take some of the extra burden off of them, and they can do their job. They can focus on sales. They can focus on what they need and let me handle the problems.
Absolutely. I love that. And then Nicole, yeah, same question there for you.
Yeah, I think I would describe my style as a transformational leader. My goal is to try to inspire my team to go beyond the requirements to achieve a common and shared goal. So I'm always striving for excellence, and I try to inspire my team to do that as well. But ultimately, in doing that, my hope is that I am providing them the necessary experience and skills that will make them better overall. And I always, when I talk to my team and we do performance reviews, and it's like, my goal is to make you good beyond what you're doing today. So whether that be staying here with me, which is always my goal, I want to keep my team, invest in them. But if I can help add and make you more marketable, or help you add a skill that will overall help your professional development, then I've won. Because if I'm not helping you get better, then I'm failing. But transformational leadership has been, some of my mentors that I, try to look after. I'm like, we're similar in style. So I love that. And I think I echo what Alexa was saying about the team and how great her team is. I have a really great team here. And collaboration is key. I'm a collaborative leader. I don't believe I have all the answers, which is why I love to get the thoughts and insights of those around me. And, we collectively try to come up with solutions. So, I'd say that would be my leadership style.
I love that answer so much. I've never heard the term transformational leader before until today. So I'm really, really just loving this, what I'm learning from this as well as I'm moderating this. So thank you so much. So let's see here. Now, as you grow your career, how do you ensure that you're lifting other women up with you? Like, what's the best advice for other people who want to be better allies? And Blanca, I'd love it if you could kick us off.
I'm a big believer in help. I help anybody that comes to ask me for questions. I tend to overshare my experiences, recommendations, or any type of feedback that they would like. I like to have like an open door. You could reach out to me at any time. And if it's a male colleague or female, that doesn't matter. So I'm a big helper. And that's honestly, if in my career in the beginning, if I had someone that would help me to answer those questions, I think it would have been, I think I would have been a little, how do I say it? What's the word? I think I would have had an easier time. But just I feel like it's a male industry. They try not to help you in purpose, I guess, if that's like, I feel like you get roadblocks. So definitely if I had that one person that asked, help me and answer any type of questions I had, that would have been a huge help. So.
Definitely, I get that. So you had kind of the opposite of allies. These guys didn't really want to help set you up for success. That's terrible. But you're doing great now. Look at you now. They're not the ones on this call. You are. So there we go.
That's why you always ask questions. Never be afraid.
So Alexa, I would love to know your thoughts on this one as well.
Yeah. So as far as helping lift, other women up as I've moved up, I definitely think kind of a little spin on what Blanca had to say there is that I've been through in the last 10 years working with the good old boys club, right? I mean, this is really the down home earth of that whole industry. And I always found that what I saw with everyone doing business with each other is that a lot of them are friends. They grew up with each other. They've been around each other for a long time. They have these tight networks, and they work with each other and they help each other become successful. And so I've always found throughout my industry, throughout my career, that the best thing I could do, whether it was with men or women, but whomever you interact with, was just becoming friends with the people that you work with as you go. And that's a great way that networking doesn't feel like a job. It feels like you're catching up with somebody. When you really get to know someone and you get to know, hey, like, what do you like outside of work? What are you really doing this for? What drives you, that brings you here every day? Because at the end of the day, we're not doing it because we just really love paperwork. We're doing it because, we love what we do outside of work. So I always found that the more I got to know people on a personal level, the more I got to know who they were and what they were doing, the more we cared about each other and the more we really wanted to help each other succeed. And that could be just from being in sales in the Southeast. Everybody wants to tell you what their garden is, what their grandkids are up to, what they've got going. They're going to let you know everything, what their wife is cooking for dinner, what they're cooking for dinner, what's happening. Yeah, you've got it all down. So the more you got to know them, the more you got in and really cared about those things, the more they wanted to help you with your career and your next steps. And you enjoy it too. So I always found that was the best way that I could just do my day-to-day work, was if we're all friends and I know you and you know me, then we want to help each other, whether it's customers, vendors, or your coworkers.
I absolutely love that perspective. Just a curiosity question for myself, just kind of piggybacking off of that. Have you found that it's been any different at all in trying to get to know and learn more about your male counterparts as your female counterparts? Like, has there been any difference or any harder?
I grew up with a lot of brothers. So I would say, for me, no. My parents definitely raised me just like one of the boys. They never treated me any different. And at times I wish they had, for sure. But, when we were all out doing yard work or doing whatever, it was, you're in it too. You're stuck. We had you along with everyone else. So I think I really kind of had that mentality growing up that I was one of the boys anyways, which, in reality, I think any female, we're all our own individual selves, and we're all capable of doing whatever we want to do. So no, I never treated any of my male counterparts any differently. And I think in return, they gave me that same respect.
Exactly. There it is. Exactly. I love that. Amazing. Nicole, definitely not last but not least, I'd love to get your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I think my motto has always been be a part of the change you want to see. So, in this case, as we're talking about women and supporting women, if you want to see more women in opportunities within your organization, figure out how to be a part of that. So, I know in the Sonepar umbrella family of companies, we have these things called ERGs, which are employee resource groups. And we have them kind of in specialty areas of focus. So, I support our WAT chapter, which is Women Advocating Today for Tomorrow. I also am I'm a chairperson actually on the board for AAERG, which is our African American Employee Resource Group. So my involvement in these, kind of locally driven and sponsored organizations is to sort of focus on those efforts to help support those groups that I think are important to me. So my advice is definitely, if your company has those types of employee resource groups, or if they don't, try to seek out opportunities and ways to maybe start one or establish that, so that you can start to be a part of solutioning and finding opportunities and ways to support, your other female colleagues or your whoever it may be. I mean, there's so many different employee resource groups that exist out there. So great opportunity, and I enjoy participating in both of those.
Absolutely. I love that you're a part of these and that you're, headlining the, the AAERG as well. That's just phenomenal to see things like that happening. I love that these these employee resource groups are like emerging and are now a thing out there, because 15, 20 years ago, you never even heard of this kind of stuff, So I just enjoy hearing these kinds of things and seeing how many different companies are, exploring these new options. That's just phenomenal. So at this time, I would like to start taking some audience questions. I already see some in. So guys watching, please, if you have any questions, feel free to jump into the chat, ask away. There's no such thing as a dumb question or anything of that nature. So please feel free, shoot away, whatever's on your mind. So first off, this question comes in and any of our panelists can answer, okay? We like to kind of do it like a game show. So whoever unmutes first, they get it. So the question is, any tips on how you can find a mentor in a new field that you want to transition to, but you're not already a part of? All right, Alexa.
I'm sure Nicole probably has a better tip than I do. But, actually my tip is probably a little unorthodox, but I found that I had somebody reach out to me through Reddit. I follow some sales forums, and I think way back when I'd made a comment about how amazing the electrical distribution field had been on a thread. And somebody reached out to me years later from that and said, "Hey, I want to learn about the electrical distribution field." And he and I chatted back and forth for quite some time. And he gave me a couple phone calls, and I walked him through, who the competitors were in his market, what some opportunities may be, what I love about the industry, what I don't love, what might fit with his background. And, some stranger from across the country. We really had a long conversations back and forth about what he could really do with his career if he wanted to move into the electrical distribution field. And surprisingly, my fiance has done the same thing with every company that he's moved to. He's much more of a researcher than I am. So he has a tendency to not only dig into Reddit and go through all of those forums, he does every background for everything, but specifically when he is transitioning to a new company, he goes through there. He asks many questions on different forums. He starts to talk to people, and he's met multiple mentors. I wouldn't call them full-on mentors so much as just somebody to give you advice ahead of time. I find that a mentor is a lifelong person that you talk to, that you work with, oftentimes in the same company or someone you've worked with while you were in that company. But if you're looking for a change and you need someone just answer those initial questions and help get you into that field, surprisingly, people on the internet can be friendly as well as, the opposite that we see on a regular basis.
That is so unorthodox and unconventional, but so different, but then it works. I completely love that you kind of went a different way with your answer, and it's very tangible. It's something that other people can try and do as well. Nicole, I did see that you unmuted, so I do still want to hear your answer.
No, it's okay. And I'll be quick. I would say professional industry associations have been very helpful. The American Marketing Association was one that I was really active in, earlier in my career. So it was all marketers from all different types of industries, and it was just a lot of networking. And so while these people weren't my mentors, I was able to, learn about different industries of, that I may be interested in taking my career to. And so that networking was really, really critical and helpful to me. So, there are lots of these types of industry associations that are available that you can become. You don't necessarily have to be sponsored through a company. So professional organizations that, maybe will have like folks maybe from all different types of industries is also an opportunity.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad that I remembered to bring you back in. Let's see here. Another question that came in. Ooh, this is a big one. And again, anybody can answer this one. And this is a good one. How do you push for systematic change? Oops, wait a minute. It went away. Hold on. Okay, there it is. How do you push for systematic change around ideas that are new or not that popular? Alexa?
Sorry to jump in first again.
Oh, please.
That one's easy. Show them where the money is. Best way you can ever push for any sort of change is to go through, find the financials for it, and show them where you're going to improve on a money-making basis. At the end of the day, I'm sure there are some companies out there that aren't here to make money, but I know everyone that I've worked in is here to make money. And so if you can go through and you can show how this affects the industry or the company or the team that you were working on in a way that's going to make them more efficient or save them time or money, those are the kinds of things that are going to help push that systematic change.
Very, very, very true. All right. So more audience questions are coming in, and I will definitely get to them as I can. But for now, let's jump back on into the questions that I have. And my next one is going to be, how have you found your own passion, purpose, and voice at work? And Alexa, once again, I'd love to hear you kick us off.
That one's interesting. I don't know that I ever felt like I needed to go out and find my voice or my passion at work. I think, again, I just coming from a very loud, energetic family as I grew up, that kind of just pushed me right into work in that same way. So I almost had the disadvantage and advantage of not ever seeing people in their titles. I think I just walked in and was like, oh, hey, how are you? And later on embarrassed me to the fullest when I thought back of some of my interactions. And I was like, that was your CEO. Maybe you should have changed your tone with them. But when I was young and I was doing that, I really engaged with people much higher than me in a way that I wouldn't have if I had stopped and really thought to myself, you should probably interact a little different. He's on a different level than you, and you shouldn't just walk up and give a high five to your CEO. But, sometimes it works for you.
Yeah, see, on that one, I'm kind of like, I'm on both sides, because I hear I know why you shouldn't do it, but I'm the kind of same person. So like, I would do this. I have done the same thing, and it's always worked out for me. So I don't know if we should tell the audience to do that, but I'm glad that it worked out for both of us. Nicole, please chime on in. How have you found your own passion and purpose and voice at work?
I think I'm a little bit with Alexa. I've always been an extrovert, so I've never had problems finding my voice necessarily. I think what I've come to realize is how important it is to have a voice, especially when sometimes you feel like you're the only in the room. It can make you feel a little small, but finding opportunities to make sure you show and demonstrate that you have a voice is just as important. Because Alexa, I think you mentioned the curiosity and the fact that you may are different, unique, or part of the minority almost makes you a draw. And so people will listen to you more. Your voice is almost louder to a degree. So stepping into and owning that, I think I came to that realization later. I think I was just talking to people before, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, that person regurgitated what I said. They were listening to me. So utilizing that more as I've gotten later in my career has been really beneficial.
Absolutely.
I love that, Nicole. I always felt like I loved being special. It was always gentlemen and Alexa. And I was like, yes, that's me. Whereas nobody knew the other 200 gentlemen in the room. Like everybody knew my name. So I got to say, I have loved seeing more women come into the industry, but it made me feel a little less special sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one anymore. Now I got to share my title, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have peers.
Oh man, this is amazing. Okay, so now I want to ask a more personal question. And Blanca, I would love, because we haven't heard from you in a little bit, I'd love for you to kick us off with this one. How do you focus on yourself, your personal life, and mental well-being outside of work?
Well, first of all, having an 18-month-old, definitely, no more, the focus has changed, no more personal time. But definitely when I do have the personal time, I'm the kind of person who likes to be alone in order to recharge, to kind of rethink and pretty much bring a center to myself. But obviously, catching up with my friends, going for a cup of coffee or a dinner, definitely that helps. And yeah, that alone time is definitely that mental being and just being helps a lot for myself.
Very good, very good. Getting that alone time, and definitely is something that a lot of people just they don't know how to navigate and make that happen, or they feel a little guilty if they have other obligations. But you have to have that alone time. You just
the guilt does jump in, but it's definitely needed. And definitely as a new mom is something I did struggle with. Still work in progress, but it's definitely better.
Absolutely. Alexa, same question there. How do you focus on yourself and your personal life and mental well-being?
It can be difficult when I've got a 40-minute commute to work, 40-minute commute back. And so sometimes after a full day of work and then that commute, you can just feel a little bit drained. And for me, it's just committing to things ahead of time. So I'm very good at saying yes to way too many things. So I find if I say yes and I throw it on the calendar, then the calendar rules me and I just start doing it. And once I'm in it, then I've got the energy just manifests itself. So oftentimes I'm drained before I get there, but whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's a 20-mile hike, which every once in a while we get dragged into, or going skiing at 7 a.m. on a Saturday when I'm like, I'd really love to sleep in. But, sometimes once you're awake and you're in the car, you're like, well, I'm here, let's go.
I hear you 100%. As you guys can see, these medals behind me. Every one of these races that I did, trust me, I did not want to do them while I was on the way. But once you get there, I know what you mean. Like those reserves kick in, and now it's like we're here, do or die, let's go. So I hear you on that one. And Nicole, I'm gonna actually ask you the same question. I just know you're gonna have a great answer. I'd love to know how you focus on yourself in your personal life and mental well-being outside of work.
I think I had to I made some sacrifices, I think, to get to where I got to in my career. And eventually I just learned to give myself some grace, that I learned to stop being so hard upon myself and having to be 100% all the time. And once I let that go and gave myself some grace to just, okay, it's all right if my kids ate McDonald's today. I didn't cook. It's fine. They're going to survive. Hey, mommy can't be at every field trip. Daddy and grandma and grandpa are also going to chip in and help out. So it was finding, once I found a good balance, I think I got better all the way around, mentally, physically more healthy. And I think it was checking out. I think I started getting better about, turning off the phone at a certain time. And okay, now this is me time, whatever that may be. Maybe binge watching one of my favorite shows, or I'm going to paint my toenails. But I'm checking out. This is my time. But I had to be active about it. It didn't come naturally. I had to purposely put myself in that mindset that, okay, I have to make time for me, so I can be better at a coworker, be a better leader, be a better mom, be a better wife. So I think that's what I did.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance. I think that that's really the key to it all. And that's kind of the key to a lot of aspects in life, is just finding that balance. And it just makes you a better person once you find the balance that works for you. And it's hard to do that. And it's very difficult to figure it all out. But once you get it, oh, it just feels so good to just know that you're balancing it out, and then you're doing things, that's right for you. I love this conversation so much. I could do this all day if I could. So, at Fairygodboss, we have a tradition of asking our panelists the following. Now, what we've observed is that women typically do not feel comfortable enough bragging or taking ownership of all the amazing things that they achieve. Case in point, I was able to talk about those medals and slip that in real easily. So I don't have that problem. So share with us an accomplishment, personal or professional, that you're most proud of. And Nicole, please kick us off.
I will kick us off with something I did professionally that was huge for me. I had a once in a lifetime opportunity to lead a multi-million-dollar rebranding initiative for an organization I used to work for. It ultimately culminated in a $9 billion acquisition of the company. It led to me becoming the youngest director in that company's history. It was a tremendous amount of work and sacrifice personally and professionally. But to say that it ended with that was so worth it and rewarding. So that was one of those things where I almost talked myself out of being in that role at the time, because I thought it was going to be too much. But I sucked it up and figured out a way to make it happen. And on the flip side of that, I now can say, I had this once in a lifetime opportunity to do one of these things that any marketer would have dreamt of being able to do. And I can say I did it. So
I love that. Oh, congratulations on that. That is phenomenal. Nicole, I'm sorry, Alexa, please jump on in with your answer.
Yeah, I would say, when I look back at the 10 years that I've been in electrical distribution, I'm so proud of what I've built. And I didn't always take the time to reap the rewards of all my hard work because I kept moving into a new state and I'd have to start over. But I was in sales for 10 years and I've done everything from starting account packages from absolute zero and building them into a full income to a full account package that can be handed off to someone else as soon as I left. And they didn't even have to go through all the hassle. They kind of got a package all put together. And I thought, man, that's incredible. And when I was a regional sales manager, I covered 6 states. I traveled every single week. And I took a territory that was really floundering and really more than doubled it in sales in less than 2 years. So I felt so proud of myself. It was such a strong territory when I handed it off. And not only that, to this day, I have customers that call me, and that was 3 years ago that I did that position. I still have customers call me and ask me if I can help them out on things. And I tell them, look, it's not my role anymore. I don't even work for that company. I'd love to, but so I just love that I still know that I really made an impact on those customers, that I have those great connections that to this day call me to follow up just to see how I'm doing, to make sure I'm still loving it out here, and ask me if I'm ever coming out back east again. And, unfortunately, I'm probably not, but at least we know that we made those changes in people.
I love that so much. Building those relationships through sales is like, it's part of what I do. So I love that. I love that so much. And then Blanca, please let us know what you're most proud of professionally and or personally.
So it's professionally. I'm actually going to piggyback on Alexa. I think, being over 10 years in sales, that having that relationship and having, your previous customers call you and ask you for advice or feedback, or can you help me, or I miss you, it's definitely fulfilling. But in my previous role in my previous company, I held a regional sales manager position. I handled 19 states for 6 years, and I traveled every other week to the East Coast from the West Coast. So those were, 4 to 6 hour flights. And within that, I had an opportunity for a national account for the Five Below stores. And I had to start from scratch. It took me a year to successfully land that potentially $1 million a year. It turned into about 2.1 million per year. So every single year, over 200 stores built. So that's something that I take pride on, of my hard work and sacrifice that, in order to ensure to land that job. So
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. And I'm super proud. I know I just met you all, but I'm super proud as well to just hear some of the amazing things that you guys have all accomplished. Just phenomenal and so inspirational as well. I know that our audience is really getting the same goosebumps that I'm getting. So I love it. I love it. I love it. So now we're going to take a couple more questions from the audience before we wrap up. The first one that I see here, and again, we're going game show rules. Whoever wants to unmute first gets it. How do you prioritize your time? Sometimes I feel I want to pursue a leadership role, but I feel overwhelmed trying to do everything and burn out.
I'll jump in here because I can really relate to that. I would say use your network. I think sometimes as moms and as women, we don't ask for help because we think we can do it all. And the reality is you can't. And it's okay to ask for help, either from your husband, your partner, your mother, your mother-in-law. So getting, help or support is okay to do, and it's not a sign of weakness, because it can help you prioritize. And, if you can take something off your plate, then you can sort of restructure your time differently in order to accomplish what it is you're trying to get done. And I will also be, I would say being honest and realistic about expectations of when you can do stuff. The idea that everything has to be done all at one time is just not a reality. So really kind of understanding what is truly a priority versus what is something that really can wait. And maybe you don't want to wait, but it can wait. And so if that allows you to free up some time to do other things you want to do, or need to focus on, then I say do that. But I think that was the hardest thing for me personally, was just asking for help. Just asking if someone could, pick up my kid, from daycare so that I could attend, this meeting that unfortunately they would schedule at 6 o'clock because all of them were older, had older children, or wives that stayed at home. And I'm the only one on the team that couldn't make the meeting. And, so I was scared to ask for help. And then what I did later on is I told those guys, those meetings don't work for me. We don't need to have meetings at 6 o'clock. Can we move those to a different time so that it's more convenient for all that want to participate? So, I feel her question, and it just hits higher because I've been through that.
No, absolutely. I'm sure that everyone listening in can definitely take away from that, and we can hear how much that one definitely impacted you personally. So thank you for that, Nicole. Now, this question is specifically for Blanca. So I am the same way, Blanca. I need my alone time. As an introvert, I make deep connections with my circle of friends, but I find networking and small talk difficult. I think ultimately I have to be myself, but sometimes people with my personality type are overlooked. Any tips for how I can make the connections I need and still be myself?
I could relate to that. I guess I am an introvert at heart. And yes, networking, it is difficult for me and create small talk, but I try to just focus on myself. It'll be okay. If you don't want to do the small talk within the network, introduce yourself, get their business card or their LinkedIn information, then reach to them after and have a one-on-one. I'm really big on the one-on-ones and having a small group versus a larger group. I just feel like the connection is deeper. You get more opportunities that way. And if you're on a sales role, so definitely just get out there. I know it's difficult, but if you push yourself and go to those network, it's super important. Get those connections, and then you could connect one-on-one after, so that way you feel comfortable with yourself. And that's something that has worked for me.
That's really, really great advice. Thank you for that. Let's see. Here's another good one. Okay. This one is for anybody. Everyone seems to have worked very long hours and have made a lot of sacrifices. What's the typical hours work now? Work-life balance? Like what are things looking like now that you guys have made those sacrifices, earlier on to get to the positions you're in now? Blanca, you were first.
Definitely work-life balance is definitely better with Sonepar. With the previous role that I had, I worked very long hours. It was very difficult to keep with just personal life and my mental being. But I would say that sacrifice led me to where I am today, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. And definitely, there's some days that are long hours, but it's not every day. So if you're okay with, Alexa has said, hey, I say yes to too many things, and there's a lot of things in my calendar. And I look at it, and I'm like, okay, this week is going to be a rough week. It's going to be long days, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to pay off, because next week you just, my manager did tell me, be selfish, block off to catch up on your work, or block off to have some time with yourself. And that's definitely one source is huge with work-life balance. And I do appreciate that very much.
Love it. I did see that everybody unmuted, so we're just going to let everybody answer this one. Alexa?
So mine may be a little bit different because I was in sales for so long. And in sales, and actually Blanca is probably very used to that as well. When I was a regional sales manager, I might work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12-hour days, sometimes longer, because what else are you doing when you're in a hotel room? Might as well answer emails till 10 o'clock at night and get everything you need done. And then on Friday, from time to time, I'd have the opportunity to be like, I'm working until 10 o'clock, and then I'm going to go do my own thing. And my phone's always on. And when somebody needs me, my laptop's always nearby. And then you could just click right back in. But you were still able to take that time to yourself. So like Blanca said, when you have those busy times, go ahead and give it the time that you need and give it the time that you have. But remember, don't feel guilty when times are slow or when you have that extra hour, 2 hours, or something built in to take it for yourself. It's okay to take an afternoon if you just worked 3 12-hour days at a time. You don't feel guilty for that time. Now, mind you, you have to have a boss and an environment that appreciates that. But I think oftentimes it's not our bosses and it's not our work life that's putting that pressure, but it's ourselves, that we tend to really give ourselves a hard time for taking the time to ourselves. Now, today, being in a management role, I have to be in the office every day, all day. And I was not used to that to begin with. I'm like, wait a second. You mean I can't just dip out on a Friday afternoon? I got to make sure these guys are still here all day. So it's definitely different. It's a little more consistent, which helps me plan things around that. But if I were to say which one I prefer, I'd rather work long hours midweek and give myself a little break on a Monday or Friday and give it a little bit of extra that way. Sales has always been great about that.
Love it. Love it. And then to wrap it all up, Nicole, take us home with your answer on this one.
All right. Well, I did something very drastic. I left the company I was at because it had a horrible work-life balance for me. And it took the pandemic for me to really take some time and do some soul searching, and figure out what I wanted to do. But that was top of mind when I decided to join Capital, part of the Sonepar company. And I looked at, their work-life balance. I looked at what the culture was. So I definitely think that if you're in a situation that doesn't allow you to create that, it's critical. I think all organizations are looking at how they can get better at it. But if you're in an opportunity right now that doesn't allow you even to have flexibility, I would say maybe it's time to start thinking about something else. And the move has been great for me. It's been great for my family. I'm much closer to home. I'm not doing those crazy hours like I used to. I mean, yeah, I travel a little bit more now, but in general, my work-life balance has increased dramatically. So I don't regret that decision. And it was a hard one. It was one that I had to sit down and, have the meet and greet with the husband and say, hey, I'm tired of complaining about this situation that I've not been able to change. And the job change was it for me. So don't be scared to jump out there, because it could be something better out there for you.
That is just tremendous, and just a great message, to kind of wrap us up with. I truly thank all three of you for being just so forthcoming, and I know that the audience definitely thanks you all so much. Nicole, Blanca, Alexa, thank you for joining us today and for sharing such fantastic advice. And thanks to all who tuned in. Now, as a reminder, we will be sending out a recording of today's event, along with resources to learn more about opportunities at Sonepar. In the meantime, be sure to check out Sonepar's profile and jobs right here on Fairygodboss. Also, we'd love to hear your feedback to help us improve for future events. Please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen, share some thoughts on the survey. If they ask you anything about the moderator, say some good things about me. Otherwise, everyone, thanks so much. I really learned so much, and I had such a great time. What a great way to kick off a Monday. I want everyone to just have a fantastic rest of their day and rest of their week. Let's go on out there and take charge of ourselves and our lives.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.